From classified ads being circled by his mum in the local paper to being the advisor to a number of large-scale organisations across Australia, James Hartwright has had a fascinating career trajectory within the data field. Today, we're going to learn a little bit more about him, his trajectory, and the advice he has for people just starting out or who want to develop a little bit further within the data management industry. Hello there, welcome to this week's episode of the Data Radio Show, where I'm going to be chatting to James Hartwright. Now, James is somebody who I really enjoy talking to because he brings to every conversation just this amazing sense of energy. And when you sit down and chat to him, you realize there's a reason why he wears so many hats. Figuratively, he's not literally wearing a lot of hats. He actually runs a couple of different organizations and has a couple of different roles that he's able to do from his work throughout the years within the data management industry. But he started off his career with a job in the classified ads that his mum pointed out to him. And he's self-taught pretty much the whole way that he's gone along, to a point where he's now working with some of the largest organizations in Australia to make sure that their data management practices are fit for purpose. It's a really cool story, but it has a core of making sure that you're able to adapt and change to whatever it is that the industry throws at you. And we've had a lot thrown at us over the last few years, but the last 25 to 30 years, it's been exponential. So I hope everybody, whether or not you're just starting out in your career and looking for some advice, or you've been in the career for a while and looking at a way of recharging your batteries, get something out of this interview, because I think you're really going to enjoy it. So yeah, let's jump over, catch up with James. Joining me once again, I have the managing partner from Pragmaticians, James Hartwright. How are you going today, James?
Good. Happy Friday.
Yeah, happy Friday. Thank God, it's been such a long week here. What is the weather like there for you at the moment?
It's getting warmer. Thankfully, winter's coming to an end. So, yes, we've had a very cold year. But yes, nice and bright today.
Nice. I'm a little jealous. We're cloudy and overcast, and it's about 12 degrees outside, and I don't like it.
Right, okay.
I
No,
miss
it's
summer.
more than that.
Summer was fantastic. Tell me, what's been keeping you busy lately?
So I've been doing a good amount across a couple of places. So I do chief data officer work as a virtual CDO for a state government department. So we've been really busy putting in a new CRM and a new insights-driven website to help businesses in Tasmania get more information about what's going on. And then I'm CTO in a startup, so we are just about to deploy to one of our biggest clients, one of the largest companies in Australia, which has also been interesting and exciting. And finally, I've just gone through the second stage of ISO 27001 certification, which is all about security management processes, which has been new for me, quite new in really getting into security of systems, but nicely reusing some of the stuff that I know around privacy and security around data. So yes, busy.
That actually raises one of my first questions in a really interesting way. Where you are now in your career, how has that changed to what it was like when you first started?
Eons ago when I first started.
I wasn't going to mention time frames.
No, I can take it. I know, as we all do generally, as we all do when we get more mature and more senior, more of the conversations that I am having are with senior people, C-level, heads of, that sort of thing. And so my interactions have to change. I've had to sort of remove my introvertedness and bring more of that show-offness, if that's a word, to it. But still, definitively in the data tells a story, and that the data, as with everything in this life, is never perfect. But what I do is to go, this is based on what we see, the data is showing, and therefore the sort of things that I believe you should be doing. It's still your decision,
Mhm.
but here are all the stats and the things. And given my 30 odd years worth of experience, where I think you should be going. Whereas when I started, it was initially, hey, here's a set of things, a set of reports, a set of screens you need to build, go off and build them, and then come back and I'll tell you whether I thought they were correct or not. And lots of stuff in between.
Lots of stuff in between. When you're dealing with young people who might be new to the industry or looking at getting into the industry, do they have what's the sort of views that they bring, or that the sort of expectations that they bring to those conversations about how the industry works, and how far is that from
Yeah.
reality?
Yeah. So there's a couple of pieces there in industry. So the things that I found in the, if you're talking about the technology part, happily they don't have to do what I did when I started, write assembly code and fully construct everything. So writing ETL code from scratch. There's tons more tooling there that is enabling and automating, and with LLM, even generating new code that I could have never have thought of doing when I first started development. So from that perspective, their expectations coming in are that I can take data from a source system, just create linkage, flows, checks, metrics, bits of data quality, all are all sort of inbuilt, and I can get speed, agility from that, which is mainly true, and which we may come back to in a bit. The second part, that business part, I've said every person that I've worked with, mentored, and they're getting the age difference getting greater and greater. One guy last month described me as his cool uncle, which I said he's 25, and I went, yeah, okay, I can take that. But in that business context, just get to know what the business does. Yeah, don't you can sit there and just move data from left to right, but if you really get to know what the business is doing, you can start to understand the nuances of the way the data interconnects, the way that data is used or misused downstream, and actually make your work better on that basis.
Looking at the path that you've taken to get to where you are now, what would you change along the way, knowing where things are at with the industry?
Um, One thing I would probably change is be um, not be so afraid or nervous about taking on new stuff. There was a job that I was offered, a contract job for 6 months that I was offered, that was something like 9 times my salary at the time. And I just went, I don't think I'm good enough, senior enough for that. And then I was presenting at a conference a year later, and I met the guy who got that job. And he was going, that was really good. How did you do that? And so that just went, okay, yeah, go. If you feel that you're good at something and and that you've got some of those pieces, just go for it. Go and do it, because um, with especially with that background, that there's so much data available, so much Gen AI stuff, Googleable stuff that you can do and get past, swimming below the surface, that will get you through, and just go in with confidence. It'll take a bit more time behind the scenes, some late nights, but just go and grab any new opportunity that you can. And that's generally what the sort of thing that you should be doing. You never regret the things that you did. You regret the things that you didn't do. More specifically in business today, um, look, we're always going through hard times. That piece of LLM coming through, and the connected piece on self-serve. That as I said, that traditional stuff that I was doing about physically creating code, it's gone, and it's never going to come back. There are specific bits though where you've got system A and system B and system C, and they all move data in around themselves. And then somebody from the business needs to go, hey, I need to know what the average timeline between something getting from A to C and where they drop off. You now have to integrate that data, and you're doing that on the basis of what a business person has asked you for. So you need to know really the thing behind that question, and then how you connect all those sources together. So you're going to create business rules at some place within the data repository, and you need to be able to describe those. They need to be checked. So you need your data quality processes, etc. That's the bit for me that's always been really interesting. So we've removed all the dross and easy stuff. The bit of generating business rules according to something that somebody's asked and being able to prove it and find the gaps and understand the gaps. That's a real solid, valuable piece of capability in your toolkit that will provide great stuff for the business.
Are there other skills as well that you think people should be bringing into their sort of career in this or starting their way through this?
Yeah, I'll start sort of at the top. So, statistical knowledge. So you're processing data. Just apply that. Does that feel right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But Australia has a population of 25 million people. I seem to have 15 million people in my database, but that means I've got most of the children as well. Does that feel right? No,
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't feel right. Therefore, go back and check. And the second part of that is a little bit aligned in the critical thinking. Does gut feel? Does this feel right as you're going through this? So if I'm providing something out, is that actually making sense? And then a bit more into the detail. So there's two pieces in there. So so the first one is not something that many people are doing now, but I'm seeing highlights of it coming back. Data modeling.
Mm-hmm.
So modeling the data and separating that out and going, here is an entity that makes sense for the business, and that is connected to this other entity in these ways I know, but there are probably going to be 5 other ways I don't know. So understand data modeling and taking all of that raw data in and orientating it slightly or heavily. There's also a piece there of understand data modeling, follow the rules before you start breaking them, and know why you're breaking them when you do break them. This for me, I don't care about the LLM's ability to do it. If you provide it better information, if you've segregated these things out sensibly to the business, it's going to do a better job. It's going to hallucinate way less. So still do that data modeling piece. The second part is within that and the world we are in, privacy. So what you do with depersonalization, segregation, applying ethical principles to that data. Because with self-serve, with algorithms on top, you don't really know how that data is going to be used. So if you've properly applied segregation and not just done a hash or an encryption of names, addresses, driver's license numbers, but actually draw the metadata out for them, put that really personal and sensitive data over to one side, use the metadata, use the codified data. It's getting harder and harder to truly depersonalize, but at least if you've thought about it in that data modeling piece and got it, you're some of the way there. And part of the reason for that is privacy acts around the world are going, quite rightly, you need as an organization to look after individuals and businesses' personal and sensitive data. And if you've set up a data warehouse that's recording everything in history and somebody says, no, I'm no longer a customer of yours, please forget all of my personal information, and it's highly connected through your data repository and through all of the backups and the history, you've immediately broken. So a bit of initial design in that data modeling, the privacy piece, so that your system, your solution is just going to survive, has much more of a chance of surviving.
We're actually looking at upgrading our privacy laws here to basically bring it in line with what you've got in Australia at the moment and sort of get it up to standard
Yeah.
with GDPR.
Mm-hmm.
But the
Yeah.
government is also looking at bringing on board its own LLM for government departments. And for me, that just rings so many bells as being there's a lot of red flags there, a lot of red flags there. But a lot of the younger people who are in the industry here who are really keen to sort of get involved in data management in general see it as a really big opportunity. I'm kind of curious, is that a young people know better thing or new technology and they're adapting to it? Or is this that they're not wise enough or experienced enough yet to know just how big an issue that could be?
It's a bit of both. So yes, as at today, and the government organisation I'm working with in Tasmania, we've got basically a hard stop on anything external coming in and running LLMs over, and that's that. Like part of the reason for that is no organisation has properly privacy separated, criticality data classified all of their data, and even if they have, even if they've gone, hey, this is the only set of data that I'm sort of approving to go out into public, which is that's probably the piece. So almost all government bodies know the information and appropriately process the information they release to public. Anything past that that's internal or restricted or top secret is rightly put. But even in that public information, that thing of self-serve, so you're putting out that public information, which is somewhat restricted in content. It has been reviewed and approved, but that LLM needs to know all of the sorts of contextual pieces in which questions can be asked. So it's never going to be perfect. You could say that if you're phoning up a call center and asking them, it's also never going to be perfect. But at least there's a human in the loop doing some of those pieces. So today, yeah, still nervousness around hallucination and contextual and forming and framing it. But what are we? We're 5 years into LLMs and a year and a bit into when LLMs first really became, oh, everybody's using it. Go 2, 3, 5 years and think what we'll have been able to do with that. There are already a number of things in the algorithm build flow in model ops, ML ops, where you ask the LLM to generate something and then you ask another LLM to check that LLM's work. And so yeah, we've already made some advancements in there in going, just go back and take that contextual thing and go, does that actually make sense? So getting the LLMs to do that critical thinking level, again, it's never going to be perfect, but we're putting layers on layers that reduce and reduce and reduce, whereby actually this now becomes really valuable. So from a government looking for going to citizens and asking in, yeah, I'm really confident that we're going to do some great stuff, be able to do some great stuff with that. I think, however, the other part there of applying that internally in all of that data that we have and all of this unstructured and semi-structured data that we've got, I think there's some real power in there. And, the traditional structured data and coming from sensors and getting transactions of products that have been bought through that day and by whom, much of that unstructured and semi-structured data, the unsaid parts, I think have got just as much. That for me, I've still not in my mind solved how we're going to get that same level of data modeling and understanding from it. But it's back to that thing. We're going to do business rules. We are going to go in and look at, as we've already done, things like texts and chats and tweets or X's, whatever they are now. That very quickly we started applying sentiment analysis to that data. So we said, hey, what's the sentiment of this overall text? Positive, negative, neutral. And I'll just go back. When I first started looking at it, we applied that to Australian tweets, and Australians came out as really negative. And I went, oh, that doesn't. So no, that's not right. And what it turned out to be was it's been trained on the US, who at that point were really, don't use swear words, don't no blasphemy or nothing. And Australians will do that all over the place. So they were coming out as really negative. So the algorithm that you apply has to tune and improve as well. But come back to that bit. So taking information out of a text, a tweet, a chat, then pulling out keywords and topics and aligning them. So you go, hey, how are we doing as a business based on consumer feedback? Let's ignore NPS, but actually let's look at the content. You can do keywords, topics, sentiment, repeated, getting, the stress, that over a number of interactions, are they getting more stressed or less stressed? Are you solving their problem in your call center interaction? Start doing those things, and suddenly that unstructured data can really be simply applied and with rigor. So yeah, brand new world. And I think we're the I need a data scientist, I need somebody who's really strong in algorithms to do this, is going to go the way of my old ETL coding, is that there are going to be blump, blump, blump. Hey, if you run through these, you're actually going to get something that's a valid output that you can be comfortable in using.
If you had advice for young people who are sort of starting today, sort of a couple of points of advice that you would give them, what would that be?
I think the first thing is make sure that this is the gig for you.
Mm-hmm.
That there's so looking after data, it's a really weird job for me because it's really technical in its base. You've got to take data from A to B and make sure that it's there, and that what you're doing with it is robust and strong. And under the consideration that somebody's going to, it's about like, all right, I gave you a car last year for you to be able to get to A to B, and now I'm saying, okay, tomorrow I need you to get 9-meter electricity poles from A to B, and you've got to go at 110 kilometers all the way. And you go, I'm not sure that it's set up for that.
Mm-hmm.
So you've just got to be able to cope with that. You've got to be really good at problem solving. But you've also got to be architecturally sound. If you build something that forks off to the left and it's like, oh yeah, that's a future James problem, you're not going to last long. So come in and get that foundations of what feels right, what feels wrong. Know that you've got to be in there and problem solve. The one I've not learned yet, learn to say no.
I know that
it
feeling.
really breaks something if you can't do it. Just go, hey, I know what you're wanting to try and do, but this is basically going to break everything. It's going to be unsupportable. I can't guarantee that it's going to get there. With that you're going to be able to. I'm going to be able to support this report ongoing. I could give you a one-off, and then let's see what we can do with it. But some of those saying no's, given the reasoning why. There'll be some people who'll go, just do it, and depending on their seniority, you'll have to go, okay. But some of that say no. Is there another way that we can come at this that will give you somewhat the same results that I'm happier to build and support? So those bits in terms of if you love problem solving, problem solving, but like also have this thing around repeatability of product orientation.
Mm-hmm.
I think data's a good place to be. And there's always more of it. We're never going to run out of data.
No, it gets bigger and bigger every year, exponentially so. Are there any sort of hard skills that you'd recommend people look into, like improve your math skills or writing or?
Yeah, as I say, like some basis on statistics is definitely good. The technology side, it's hard. That's also hard. That piece I said around data modeling, understand some of the concepts that are out there around data meshes, data fabrics. Go and look at obviously Data Vault, Kimball, but also go and look at the ones that I really don't like One Big Table, which have a place, but not as a core technology for me. But just keep your eye out on some of those things. But getting that good grounding in data modeling, the technology parts. If you're coming into a job or your second or third job, you are almost definitely going to find and be asked to use tools that you've not used before. So going off and learning Databricks or DBT or Snowflake, it's going to be valuable because you're going to get experience, but don't believe that the next job and the job four down, you're going to be using the same thing, because tools, organizations change over time. I was, as I say, writing 370 assembler and 4GL stuff on the mainframe 30 years ago. Even 10 years ago, I was on a traditional data warehouse system that was run on-prem. And now we're almost 100% in cloud. We are using databases, lake houses that can take in JSON and XML, where I was always on structured. Also, that same area, I can take in images and PDFs and etc. and process those. So don't keep up to date. unless you really want to become an SME in a piece of software. Just be flexible.
Is there for you a preference between something like a formal education in this or a self-taught sort of path for people, or see the benefits of both?
Uh, well, you won't use me as the necessarily the good way to go. So I dropped out, and my mum found me my first IT job. She went, "Here it is in the paper, in the newspaper.
Mm-hmm.
They want trainee developers." So I joined. I got the job. Started as a trainee developer, and worked my way through. I've got other people, other friends who've gone through university, and got that foundational block, that stuff around. So the sort of the timeline, the 3 years that I did in learning and reading and courses the company sent me on, and their thing around going to university and getting stronger principles. We both ended up somewhat at the same point, but each person, as they enter in, is going to find a different route. I've got some old colleagues did geography degrees.
Mm.
I've got a colleague who worked in what is he's so the word's gone, but he's basically an arborist. So he went and did his degree in
Horticulture.
arboreal processing. Yeah, yeah. But he's found applicability because he went, okay, well, we need to do spatial. So spatial analysis of how trees and plants and etc. grow. Oh, they're growing over power lines. Well, actually, now there's a real business context to which I'm applying that. But to apply that, I need to break those pieces of images up, do LiDAR, do processes, draw the metadata out from that, put them in a pipeline, and then present them out. So yeah, it doesn't, for me, it doesn't really matter where you've come from, what thing. Bring the curiosity in, bring that desire in, and bring some of that, that foundational stuff, as I said, in the data modeling and knowing the business, and as soon as you can, as quickly as you can, do it.
Have you come across any like really out there careers that people have moved into data from, other than horticulture? Like, I mean, that's a bit of a jump. You wouldn't expect somebody who has that
No, no.
background going into a field like data management.
No. There's me. I was a van driver before I became a
Yeah.
developer. Yeah. Look, it's getting less and less. Most people who I now work with have come up through in some sort of computer science style degree, computer science plus something else, computer science plus finance, computer science plus education. There were fewer of them who've come through that. I just spent nights and weekends playing around and writing code and seeing what I could do. There's less of that, but that's possibly the arenas that I'm in. I can't think of anything much more left field than the arboreal
Mhm.
guy and the geologist. They were like, okay, how did you get here?
Yeah. Yeah. It's got to be a fascinating story though that would make them change like that. It'd be brilliant.
Indeed, yeah.
What about mistakes people make? Have you come across many mistakes that people bring to the job, or around attitude or outlook?
Yeah. Look, that bit, it's some of it, like a lot of it's just around that experience piece. So still the majority of data people I work with are heavily analytically orientated, and uh, deal with the analytics, deal with the actuals, and also to that thing of, hey, the data, and then presenting that back to the business and going, hey, here's the result, but they do it in really technical terms. Here's the result, but they're going, oh yeah, but there's a 1.7% confidence error on this data, and it just
Yeah.
meeting of the minds, meeting of the language, and it is, like, as I say, it's as I said there, getting to know the business, getting to engage the business. There's a sort of a line of, you'll start getting to talk to more senior people the more you get to work the lingo. and convert your technical knowledge and understanding into their speak. But yeah, it's those ones where you have to let it happen. That you get somebody and they go and present and they go and talk, but you have to give them that positive feedback, that of great job. You need to look at your audience and work with them and go, hey, when I say blah, 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 confidence level, that means we're still good. It just, I'm just covering my ass in terms of it might go off this way. But because I know that it might go off this way, I'm putting checks in. I'm looking at trends. I'm doing anomaly detection on that, so that if it does start going a bit off that way, rather than the way I predicted, we can react to it at the appropriate time. So yeah, just those sorts of things. Look, the other one is probably just that thing of expecting too much too quickly. Yeah, it took me 10 years to get to a consulting style position. And some people are still going, well, in 3 years, I want to be a CTO. And I'm just saying, it's just not going to happen. You might be really lucky. You might be really great. But in the majority that you need to work through some of that piece of earning the right to have that role. Because if you're a CTO or you're a consulting person, you need to have some of that level of experience to go, in this situation, I could have gone this way, or this way. You can only really get it from experience, that there are 3 different ways. This is the one I'm going to pick and do. And you can only really do that through having a lived experience. So that's the one is like, go into it knowing that this is a journey, that the end results in both having, I actually love my job. That I've always gone, if 80% of it is really good and 20% of it is the drudge and the having to do recording, then that's a good job. If you can get to that level, things like money will come along. And if you got something that you enjoy doing and there's a great salary that comes along with it, isn't that a happy life?
Yeah, why would you complain about that?
Yeah. So yeah, it's a journey. Things aren't going to run at the speed that you really want. But come back to my probably first thing: jump at every opportunity that you can, because that will get you up that place higher. You will have some real hard learning moments and like nervousness and etc. and late nights. But again, if it's something that you enjoy doing, the outcomes that you get and your speed of the learned experience just goes up and up and up.
I think that's a fantastic place to end this. That's brilliant advice. So thank you very much, James. It is much appreciated you being here. I always learn so much having a chat to you. So it's always a pleasure. Thank you very much.
Yes, great. Cheers. Bye.
Hey, I want to thank you and James for joining me for this week's episode. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe if you're watching the video. I don't know, post it on LinkedIn or MySpace. And if you're listening to the podcast, don't forget to give us a rating and tell people that they should come along and have a listen. It's always really fun to get feedback from people about what it is that they've enjoyed on the episode as well. And I really do hope you got something out of it, because I find talking to people like James just absolutely brilliant. It's really inspirational, and it helps me sit here and go, well, that's a really cool thing to do, or career path to go down, or a really important bit of minutia that people might have missed when it comes to looking at data management as a whole. Look, until next time, have yourself a fantastic week. We'll catch you all next time, and may the force be with you.